Someone is terrified to tell you their dark secret. My beloved child, do not let your heart race ahead of the truth, because what you are sensing is not the whole story. Stay with me a little longer, because a hidden burden has become too heavy for someone to carry alone. For a long time, this person believed that silence would protect everyone involved. They convinced themselves that if they buried the truth deeply enough, it would disappear. But secrets never disappear. They grow louder inside the soul until even a smile cannot hide them anymore. That is why today feels different. Something inside them is changing, and the walls they built around their heart are beginning to crack. Do not skip this moment, because what happens next may explain feelings you have carried without understanding. There has been distance where there should have been closeness. There has been confusion where there should have been peace. You wondered if you imagined the signs, but you did not. Your spirit noticed what your eyes could not see. Every unanswered question, every strange silence, every unexpected change in energy became another piece of a puzzle you were never meant to solve alone. I have watched every tear you never showed anyone. I have heard every prayer you whispered when nobody else was listening. Even when you felt forgotten, I remained beside you, preparing a moment when hidden things would finally come into the light. The person carrying this secret is not sleeping peacefully anymore. Every morning begins with regret, and every night ends with the same question echoing through their heart: how long can I keep pretending? They know the truth has already started revealing itself in quiet ways. Small details no longer fit together. Memories they tried to ignore keep returning. Conversations they hoped would be forgotten suddenly come back into focus. They are discovering that the hardest person to deceive is themselves. Listen carefully, because this is where everything begins to shift. The fear inside them is no longer about being judged. It is about losing someone whose presence has become more valuable than their pride. They understand that every day they delay honesty, they move further away from the peace they truly desire. Yet another voice inside whispers that perhaps forgiveness is still possible if they find the courage to speak before time slips away. My beloved child, you are not being asked to carry another person's mistakes. You are being prepared to see clearly instead of emotionally. Truth is never sent to destroy those who walk with wisdom. Truth arrives so that confusion no longer controls your future. Many people mistake silence for strength, but silence built on fear becomes a prison. This person has lived inside that prison for far longer than anyone realizes. They smile while carrying invisible chains. They laugh while hiding unbearable guilt. They tell themselves tomorrow will be the day they finally speak, yet tomorrow keeps becoming another yesterday. But now something unexpected has happened. A moment they never planned for has forced them to confront everything they tried to avoid. It felt ordinary at first, almost insignificant, but inside their heart it became impossible to ignore. Suddenly they realized they could continue protecting the secret, or they could finally protect the people they truly care about. That realization has shaken them more deeply than anyone around them understands. Stay until the end, because another layer of this story is still waiting to be revealed. What you believed was rejection may actually have been someone's fear of facing the consequences of their own choices. What you believed was indifference may have been silent shame. This does not erase pain, but it changes the way the entire story is understood. Sometimes the greatest battle is not between two people. It is between honesty and fear inside one heart. Today, honesty is beginning to win. I need you to remember something important. Never allow another person's hidden burden to decide your worth. Their silence was never proof that you lacked value. Their confusion was never evidence that you were difficult to love. The truth about them has always belonged to them. Your purpose has always belonged to you. As this hidden chapter slowly opens, you may feel many emotions at once. Relief, sadness, surprise, even compassion. Let every feeling pass through wisdom before it reaches your decisions. Do not allow anger to become your guide. Let truth be your guide instead. Because when truth leads, peace eventually follows. The ending of this story has not yet been written, but the beginning of healing has already arrived. A confession carried by sincerity has the power to end years of uncertainty. A single honest conversation can accomplish what endless guessing never could. That is why I ask you not to fear what is coming. Fear imagines the worst. Wisdom prepares for reality. And reality, though sometimes painful, always creates space for freedom. The next chapter will not belong to secrets. It will belong to clarity. The next step will not belong to pretending. It will belong to courage. Keep your heart steady, because what has remained hidden cannot stay hidden forever, and when the truth finally arrives, you will understand that I was guiding you through every unanswered question, every restless night, and every silent prayer all along. That my beloved child, remain with me a little longer, because the silence surrounding this story is about to become impossible to ignore. The weight this person has been carrying has reached a point where every ordinary moment feels like a reminder of what they have hidden. They have rehearsed countless conversations in their mind, imagining what they might say if courage finally overcomes fear. Yet every time they come close to speaking, another wave of doubt rises inside them. They wonder if the truth will cost them everything they still hope to protect. They wonder whether forgiveness is something they deserve or merely something they dream about. But listen carefully, because something has changed that they never expected. The signs around them are becoming impossible to dismiss. Small moments keep interrupting their thoughts. Familiar places suddenly remind them of promises they failed to keep. Quiet nights refuse to let them rest. Every attempt to move forward without honesty only pulls them back toward the truth they have tried so desperately to avoid. Stay until the end, because this chapter is not about fear winning. It is about fear finally losing its grip. I have been working behind the scenes in ways no human eye can fully understand. While you questioned why everything seemed delayed, I was arranging moments that would eventually reveal what needed to be revealed at exactly the right time. Nothing has escaped my attention. Every tear, every unanswered prayer, every silent question that echoed through your heart has been heard. Even when it felt as though heaven was quiet, I was preparing an answer greater than you imagined. The person carrying this hidden burden has begun to realize that truth is no longer their greatest enemy. Their greatest enemy has become the exhaustion of pretending. Pretending demands more strength than honesty ever will. Every smile they forced became heavier. Every conversation they avoided became another chain around their heart. Every passing day reminded them that peace cannot grow where deception continues to live. They are beginning to understand that freedom will never come from hiding. Freedom begins the moment truth steps into the light. My beloved child, this is why I have asked you again and again not to let bitterness settle inside your spirit. You were never created to become a prisoner of another person's choices. Your future does not depend on the mistakes someone else made. Your future depends on your willingness to continue walking with wisdom, patience, and faith, even while answers seem delayed. There are moments when justice arrives quietly instead of dramatically. There are moments when hearts change long before words are spoken. That is exactly what is unfolding now. Something inside this person is breaking, not their hope, but their pride. They are discovering that admitting the truth requires far more courage than hiding it ever did. They know they cannot rewrite yesterday, but they are beginning to believe they may still change tomorrow. That realization has filled them with both fear and hope. They fear rejection, yet they hope honesty might finally end the distance that has haunted them for so long. Do not skip this moment, because another hidden layer is about to unfold. There were influences around them that encouraged silence instead of integrity. Voices told them that keeping everything hidden would protect everyone involved. Those voices sounded convincing at first, but they offered temporary comfort instead of lasting peace. Now those same voices have become strangely quiet. Conscience has become louder than excuses. Conviction has become stronger than denial. Every step they take reminds them that no secret remains hidden forever. Light always reaches the places darkness believed belonged only to itself. My beloved child, I need you to remember this whenever your heart begins to imagine the worst. Truth may arrive with tears, but it also arrives with clarity. Clarity removes confusion. Clarity restores direction. Clarity gives peace a place to grow again. Without truth, people remain trapped inside endless questions. With truth, healing finally has somewhere to begin. That is why I have not abandoned this story. I have been preparing its turning point from the very beginning. Soon you will recognize why certain doors closed, why certain conversations ended unexpectedly, and why certain delays protected you from rushing toward incomplete understanding. What felt like unanswered prayers were often hidden acts of mercy. What felt like silence was often unseen guidance. Even now I am leading both hearts toward a moment neither expected but both desperately need. The confession they fear is no longer just about revealing what happened. It is about accepting responsibility for the consequences that follow. Responsibility is uncomfortable, yet it is the first true step toward restoration. They are beginning to understand that genuine peace is never purchased through hiding. It is discovered through honesty, humility, and the courage to face what has been avoided. My beloved child, when that moment finally arrives, guard your heart carefully. Listen before you react. Seek wisdom before emotion. Let discernment become your companion. Not every confession demands the same response, but every confession deserves to be heard with a clear mind instead of a clouded spirit. Remember that forgiveness and trust are not identical. One may begin immediately, while the other may take time to rebuild. Do not allow guilt that does not belong to you to become a burden you carry. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to truth, not to rescue someone from the consequences of their own choices. As this chapter draws to a close, know that the greatest surprise has not yet been revealed. The story is still moving, the hidden pieces are still coming together, and what now feels uncertain will not remain uncertain forever. Keep your heart steady. Keep your faith alive. The light is drawing closer with every passing moment, and when the next door opens, you will understand why every delay, every question, and every silent night prepared you for the truth that was always destined to find its way into the light. My beloved child, the moment you have been unknowingly approaching is now closer than ever before. Do not allow uncertainty to steal your peace, because what is hidden is beginning to unravel one thread at a time. There is a restlessness growing inside the person who has carried this burden for so long, and no distraction has been strong enough to silence it. Every attempt to move on without confronting the truth has only brought them back to the same place. They have discovered that the heart remembers what the mind tries to bury. Stay with me until the very end, because another piece of this story is about to come into the light. The fear they once carried was fear of being exposed. Now it has become fear of waiting too long. They understand that every day of silence creates another distance they never intended to create. They replay old conversations again and again, wondering whether there was a moment when they could have changed everything simply by choosing honesty. Those memories no longer comfort them. They challenge them. They remind them that truth delayed is often more painful than truth spoken with humility. My beloved child, while you searched for explanations, I was protecting your heart from conclusions that were not yet complete. You saw only scattered pieces, but I have always seen the entire picture. What looked like rejection was often confusion. What appeared to be indifference was sometimes a battle hidden deep within another person's conscience. This does not excuse wrong choices, but it helps you understand why events unfolded the way they did. Wisdom always looks deeper than appearances. Listen carefully, because something unexpected has happened. Someone this person deeply respects spoke words they were not prepared to hear. Those words were simple, yet they echoed louder than anything else. They realized that living with guilt had slowly become more exhausting than facing the consequences of honesty. Since that day, they have found it harder to pretend everything is normal. Even ordinary moments now remind them that they cannot carry this secret forever. Every sunrise feels like another opportunity they almost missed. Every sunset feels like another chance slipping away. My beloved child, never believe that darkness has the final word. Truth has a quiet power that continues working even when no one notices it. It moves through hearts before it reaches conversations. It softens pride before it produces confession. It prepares healing before wounds are fully understood. That is why I ask you once again to remain patient. The timing of truth is often different from the timing people expect, but it is never outside my care. Do not skip this part, because there is something your heart needs to hear. You have wondered whether you somehow caused this distance. You questioned your own worth. You examined every conversation, every decision, every memory, hoping to discover where everything changed. My beloved child, release that burden today. Another person's silence was never proof that you were unworthy. Another person's fear was never evidence that you failed. You were never responsible for carrying a secret that was never yours to begin with. Let that truth settle deeply within your spirit. It is time to stop blaming yourself for battles that belong to someone else. Meanwhile, the person carrying this hidden weight has begun noticing signs they once ignored. They cannot escape the feeling that life is gently but firmly leading them toward accountability. Doors they expected to remain open have closed. Conversations they tried to avoid keep finding them again. Quiet moments have become louder than busy days. They finally understand that peace cannot be borrowed from tomorrow. It must be chosen today through honesty. My beloved child, if you could see their heart at this very moment, you would notice something changing. The pride that once defended silence has become fragile. The confidence that once justified hiding has begun to crumble. In its place grows something unfamiliar but powerful: humility. Humility does not erase yesterday, but it creates the possibility of a different tomorrow. It whispers that restoration begins not with perfection but with truth. That whisper is becoming impossible for them to ignore. Stay until the end, because the greatest turning point has not yet arrived. A conversation is drawing closer, one that neither of you expected when this journey first began. It may not unfold exactly as imagined, and it may not answer every question immediately, but it will begin dissolving the fog that has surrounded this story for so long. Clarity rarely arrives all at once. It comes one honest step at a time. My beloved child, when that day comes, remember who you are. Do not let shock control your response. Do not let anger become your only voice. Stand firmly in wisdom. Listen carefully. Speak truthfully. Protect your peace. Compassion does not require abandoning discernment, and forgiveness does not require ignoring reality. Walk with both grace and wisdom together. They will guide you where emotion alone cannot. As this chapter closes, know that heaven has not forgotten your prayers. Every unanswered question has been counted. Every tear has been seen. Every moment you wondered whether truth would ever appear has been held safely in my hands. What has remained hidden is moving steadily toward the light, and when the next chapter begins, the silence that once controlled this story will no longer have the final word. The truth is closer than you realize, and with it comes the opportunity for freedom, clarity, and a future no longer built upon fear but upon what is real. My beloved child, you have stayed with me this far, and there is a reason your heart has not turned away. Every chapter has been preparing you for this one, because what is about to unfold is not simply the uncovering of a hidden truth. It is the moment when fear begins to lose the authority it once held over someone's life. Stay with me until the very end, because the silence that has lingered for so long is beginning to crack in ways no one expected. The person carrying this burden woke today with the same weight pressing against their heart, yet something felt different. For the first time, they realized they were no longer afraid of the truth itself. They were afraid of how much more damage another day of hiding could cause. That realization has changed everything. They can no longer convince themselves that waiting is the safer choice. They have discovered that every hour spent pretending only deepens the distance they desperately want to close. My beloved child, while you have been wondering why this journey seems so long, I have been shaping your heart for a moment that requires wisdom instead of impulse. Had the truth arrived before now, pain might have spoken louder than understanding. But today you are stronger than you were yesterday. You have learned patience through uncertainty. You have learned endurance through silence. You have learned that your value was never determined by another person's decisions. Those lessons were not wasted. They became the foundation you will stand upon when clarity finally arrives. Listen carefully, because another unseen battle is taking place. The person hiding this secret has begun pulling away from the voices that once encouraged denial. Advice that once sounded comforting now feels empty. Excuses that once seemed convincing no longer satisfy their conscience. Every attempt to justify the past has collapsed beneath the weight of what they know is right. They have reached a crossroads where only two paths remain. One path leads deeper into fear. The other leads toward truth, accountability, and the possibility of healing. Every part of their spirit knows which path must be chosen, even if their courage still struggles to catch up. Do not skip this moment, because another layer is about to be revealed. There were nights when they almost reached out. They opened messages they never sent. They started conversations they never finished. They stared at words on a screen before deleting them again and again. Not because they did not care, but because they feared that honesty might arrive too late. They worried that forgiveness had already become impossible. Yet even now, hope refuses to disappear completely. Deep inside, they continue believing there may still be a chance to step into the light before every bridge is gone forever. My beloved child, hear me clearly. Truth is powerful, but wisdom is equally important. When hidden things come into the light, do not feel pressured to make every decision immediately. Give your heart room to breathe. Let understanding arrive before conclusions. Let discernment become stronger than emotion. Not every answer comes in a single conversation, and not every wound heals in a single day. Some journeys require patience even after the truth has been spoken. That patience is not weakness. It is strength guided by wisdom. Stay until the end, because something remarkable is already happening behind the scenes. The burden this person has carried for so long is beginning to transform them. Guilt that once pushed them into hiding is now pushing them toward responsibility. Fear that once kept them silent is becoming the very reason they realize silence can no longer continue. Growth often begins where comfort ends, and they are standing at that very place now. They understand that no future built upon secrecy can ever bring lasting peace. If they desire freedom, honesty must become the next step. My beloved child, never allow another person's confession to redefine who you are. Your identity has never depended on someone else's choices. Long before this story began, I knew your worth. Long before confusion entered your life, I called you valuable. Nothing hidden can erase what I have spoken over your life. Hold tightly to that truth when emotions attempt to convince you otherwise. Your peace is not found in another person's approval. Your peace is found in walking faithfully with me, one step at a time. Listen carefully, because the atmosphere surrounding this story is changing. What once felt impossible now feels inevitable. The truth is no longer asking whether it should appear. It is asking only when. Every circumstance is quietly moving toward a moment of revelation. Every unanswered question is slowly finding its answer. Every hidden chapter is preparing to become an open page. That is why I have asked you repeatedly not to lose hope. Delay is not the same as denial. Sometimes time is the very tool that prepares hearts to receive what they could not have handled before. As this chapter comes to its close, remember this above everything else. Whatever words you eventually hear, whatever explanations are offered, whatever emotions rise within you, do not forget that I have walked beside you through every step of this journey. I have not abandoned you in the silence, and I will not leave you in the truth. The next chapter will bring the conversation that has been avoided for far too long. It will not erase the past, but it will remove the shadows that have hidden it. When that moment finally arrives, you will understand why every unanswered prayer, every restless night, and every quiet lesson was preparing you not simply to hear the truth, but to face it with courage, wisdom, and a heart that refuses to let darkness have the final word. My beloved child, this is the final chapter of the journey, and I want you to listen with a peaceful heart. Everything that has unfolded until this moment has been leading here, not to leave you trapped in questions, but to set you free from them. The truth you have been waiting for was never meant to destroy your future. It was meant to remove the shadows that kept you from walking forward with confidence. Stay with me until the very last word, because the greatest gift is not the secret itself. The greatest gift is the freedom that follows when the secret no longer controls anyone's life. The person who has carried this hidden burden has finally reached the place they feared for so long. There are no more convincing excuses left to hide behind. There are no more distractions strong enough to silence their conscience. They now understand that every day spent avoiding honesty only delayed the peace they had been searching for. The fear that once kept them silent has become smaller than their desire to stop living behind a mask. They know the conversation ahead may be difficult. They know there may be tears, disappointment, and consequences they cannot escape. Yet they have also realized that living without truth is a heavier punishment than facing those consequences with humility. My beloved child, I told you from the beginning that I was working even when you could not see it. Now you can begin to understand why. Had everything been revealed too soon, your heart might have responded from pain instead of wisdom. Had every answer arrived immediately, you might never have discovered the strength I was building within you. Through every unanswered prayer, every restless night, every confusing moment, I was teaching you to stand upon truth instead of emotion. I was showing you that your identity has never depended on another person's choices. You were valuable before this story began, you remained valuable through every chapter, and you will continue to be valuable long after this story ends. Listen carefully, because this is the lesson I never wanted you to miss. People may fail. Promises may be broken. Expectations may be shaken. But my faithfulness does not change. When others become uncertain, I remain constant. When human understanding reaches its limit, my wisdom continues beyond what you can see. That is why I asked you again and again to trust me through the silence. The silence was never empty. It was preparing hearts for a truth that could finally be received. The moment of honesty has now arrived. Words that once seemed impossible to speak are finally finding their way into the light. The burden that weighed so heavily upon one heart is no longer hidden in darkness. It is no longer controlling every decision from behind the scenes. Whether the conversation is met with tears, quiet reflection, or a long pause filled with emotion, one thing has changed forever. The truth is no longer imprisoned. And once truth is free, healing has permission to begin. My beloved child, remember that healing is a journey, not a single moment. One conversation cannot erase every wound, just as one mistake does not define an entire life. There will be days when emotions return. There will be moments when memories surface again. When that happens, do not return to fear. Return to wisdom. Return to peace. Return to the truth that I have remained beside you through every chapter of your life. Let forgiveness become freedom for your own heart, but allow wisdom to guide every step you take afterward. You are never required to ignore what you have learned. You are only invited to move forward without allowing bitterness to become your companion. Stay with me just a little longer, because one final truth must settle into your spirit. This story was never only about another person's hidden burden. It was also about your transformation. At the beginning, uncertainty controlled your thoughts. Now clarity has begun replacing confusion. At the beginning, fear whispered louder than hope. Now hope speaks with greater confidence than fear ever could. You have become stronger than you realize, not because life has been easy, but because you refused to stop walking even when the path was unclear. That quiet perseverance has shaped you into someone prepared for the future waiting ahead. My beloved child, close this chapter with peace instead of regret. Release what was never yours to carry. Let go of questions that no longer need answers. Walk away from the weight of yesterday and step toward the future I have prepared for you. Do not let this ending become the place where your heart remains. Let it become the doorway through which you discover new strength, deeper wisdom, and lasting peace. The light that seemed so distant at the beginning of this journey is now before you. Walk toward it without fear. Walk toward it with confidence. Walk toward it knowing that no hidden truth is greater than my ability to guide you, restore you, and lead you into a future built not upon secrecy, but upon honesty, hope, and peace. And as this story comes to its end, remember these words whenever uncertainty tries to return: I have never left your side, I am with you today, I will be with you tomorrow, and I will continue leading you forward, one faithful step at a time. The chapter has ended, but your journey toward peace has only just begun.